I decide to spend my first day exploring on foot and to concentrate on the Buda side of the river. With my hotel being in the Jewish quarter of Budapest, that meant starting with a short walk down Pest's busy streets to the Danube, passing some of the city's fine buildings in the process. The first bridge that I came to was the very elegant Elizabeth Bridge, dating from 1964, but built on the site of a previous bridge destroyed during World War II. The unmissable sight across the river was the Gellert Hill, topped by the Statue of Liberty. All along the banks of the Danube were moored huge barge-like boats that were literally floating hotels. This one even came complete with a plunge pool and a mini golf course. The next bridge downriver was the Liberty Bridge, and just downstream of it on the Buda bank was the rather grand Performing Arts Theatre, and to its right the University of Technology and Economics, before coming to the turreted Gellert Hotel. The Liberty Bridge is the shortest of Budapest's bridges. Each main post on it is topped by a turtle bird, a mythical bird of prey which is one of Hungary's national symbols. The bridge also bears Hungary's coat of arms. The view from it, looking upriver, shows the Elizabeth Bridge, and beyond that, Castle Hill and the Palace. It's now time to cross over to the Buda side of the river, with the Gellert Hill being my first stop. It had been built in a grand manner in the Art Nouveau style between 1912 and 1918. My main reason for visiting was for the thermal baths and pools at the rear of the building. The main entrance hall for the spa was impressive, as were its Art Nouveau ceiling windows. Gellert is one of two spas particularly recommended for tourists to visit, and it offered a variety of outdoor and indoor pools. The main outdoor pool had strangely deep sides, but the reason for that became clear later when its wave machine went into action. The pool is surrounded by neatly landscaped terraces and stylish tiling, and there was the pleasantly cooling sound from a little waterfall feature at the far end. The internal thermal pools have temperatures ranging from 26 to 38 degrees centigrade, depending on whether they are intended for exercise or just for sitting, soaking and relaxing. I headed back outside again to be ready for the once-an-hour wave session. It was up to the lifeguard to start the action. The bathers applied different techniques in the waves, some jumping, some standing firm, some trying to surf the wave, and others simply diving into it head first. Across the road from the spa was a path leading up to an interesting cave church to explore. It was created from an existing cave in 1926. It was totally sealed off during the communist period, but its little chapels were subsequently restored and reopened in 1992. Just outside was a modern statue to St. Gerard, while just above the church entrance was a cross facing out across the river. As the path gradually wound its way higher up St Gillette Hill, the panorama opened out, and the views of Pest across the river showed just how flat the land on that side of the city was. Again, the elegance of the Elizabeth Bridge could be admired. Going on up, everything below seemed to gradually shrink. The buildings, the bridges, the great barges, and even the mighty Danube. The hill was a large public park, and its trees fortunately provided welcome shade on a hot day, with the temperature up in the mid-30s. Thankfully too, there were periodic viewing platforms on the way up, providing an excuse to stop and get one's breath back. Up at the summit was a citadel, and in front of that was the 46-foot-high Statue of Liberty, a landmark to be seen from all over Budapest. The female figure on top is holding aloft a large palm leaf. It was flanked by two statues, one a man fighting a dragon representing evil, the other a figure holding a torch representing progress. This being the highest point on the hill, it offered the best panoramic views. The viewing terrace here is busy with people from tour buses which are able to drive up the road on the other side of the hill. Two more bridges now come into view. The chain bridge with its very solid piers, and in the distance the rather plain Margaret Bridge. St Gillette Hill was also a good viewpoint for seeing the neighbouring Castle Hill and its imposing set of palace buildings. Going down the north side there was a statue and a monument to Bishop Gellert at the site where he is said to have fallen to his death. My next stop was to be to Castle Hill and its imposing royal palace, but that first required returning to river level, where I saw one of the public ferries heading downstream having to loop round across the river to be facing upstream for berthing at its next landing stage. Over the centuries there have been many different buildings on Castle Hill, but the current complex is known as the Royal Palace and provides a home for the National Gallery, the Budapest History Museum, the National Library, and a fine selection of statues. This is the Horse Wrangler, depicting a horse tamer holding a restive horse. Looking out over the river, this horseman is Prince Henry of Savoy, who liberated Budapest from the Turks at the end of the 17th century. The Matthias fountain interprets a hunting scene from legend where King Matthias met a beautiful peasant girl called Ilonka and fell in love with her. The raven with a ring is a symbol of the 15th century Raven King. The Habsburg ornate gate provided the grand route from the palace to St George Square. In the far corner of the square is a bronze statue of the mythical turtle bird, one of the symbols of the Kingdom of Hungary. In another corner is the cyclo, or funicular, that connects the chain bridge with St George Square and the palace. It was originally built in 1870, but was totally destroyed in World War II and not reconstructed again until 1986. The 100-metre trip up the 48-degree incline takes about 2 minutes. The platform behind it offers a view of the chain bridge built by Scotsman Adam Clarke. For me, the National Gallery part of the building had another attraction because its central dome had a viewing gallery giving more fine vistas across the river. The chain bridge, and then further up the river, the magnificent Parliament building. Brochures advertising cruises up the Danube. This is invariably featured. Two other fine buildings on the other side are the Gresham Palace Hotel and the Ministry of the Interior. I then moved on to the Castle District with some interesting old buildings and their two-part doorways. But some tourists were more interested in looking at an East German Trabant car. The building on the left is the Budapest Hilton, in a prime position just next to Matthias Church. The church is properly called the Church of Our Lady of Buda Castle and stands on Holy Trinity Square. As I was filming, I became aware of singing and then identified it as coming from the other side of the square in a building known as the Hungarians' House, which houses the Hungarian Cultural Foundation. It was now time to explore the interior of Matthias Church. There has been a religious building on the site since the 1st century, but there have been many rebuilds, including its conversion to a mosque at one point. The current neo-Gothic style building dates back to the end of the 19th century. Like many other buildings in Budapest, it suffered damage in the war, but was fortunately only the roof that was burnt and the organ destroyed. I had also booked for a climb up to the top of the church bell tower. This involved a climb of 197 steps, but the views across the Danube to Pest meant it was definitely worthwhile. The Parliament building dates from 1902. It is thought that some of the inspiration came from London's Houses of Parliament. There was also a bird's eye view of the Fisherman's Bastion, and of the roofs of the Castle Hill district. It was also interesting to see the vibrant colours and mosaic patterns of the ceramic tiles on the church's restored roof. Back down again, it was time to view the Fisherman's Bastion, with its 7 turrets looking like something out of a Disney fairy tale. In front of it stands a statue of King Stephen I mounted on his horse. The bastion's name comes from the Guild of Fishermen, who were responsible for defending this stretch of the city walls back in the Middle Ages. I then headed back down to the river and another closer view of the Parliament. The Baroque church of St Anne is in the Watertown area, right next to the river. To get back to the Pest side and my hotel, I headed for the Chain Bridge. Right opposite the end of the bridge was the impressive Gresham Palace Hotel. My day ended with a stroll through the main pedestrianised shopping and cafe area.